All right, well, good morning, everyone. It is now about 10 o'clock in the morning here, a little past 10 a.m. Missouri River Valley, pretty interesting stuff happening in the next several hours here. Let's take a live look over the city itself. A little hot, a little steamy at this time. The temperatures on the rise. We're looking at the upper 70s, lower 80s, and then pushing into the upper 80s here momentarily. And then finally feel like temperatures could actually push into the mid and upper 90s. We definitely have an unstable environment out there, especially with the heat, but with the moisture content to the atmosphere, well, that's going to change everything for us. So with that being said, severe thunderstorm activity is looking more and more likely as we move forward in time here. That's what we're tracking, and that's what we want to talk to you guys about here on all of our social media and live stream platforms. We do have a system that's moving in from the north and west, cold front, accompanied by an upper level low pressure system out towards areas of Colorado. Everything is transferring over and deepening from the north to the south for us as we move into the afternoon. I want to show you what's going on with our severe weather potential here, because we got an update earlier this morning at around 7:30, 7:45 in the morning to be more precise, to our severe weather risk. This is it involved with the metro and, of course, moving right down to the south. That's the new change that we've seen, and we've even seen a major change out towards Chillicothe and Bethany. So the new thing is the enhancement that we've got here, that orange zone that covers the entirety of the metro and stretches right on over towards Lawrence, Atchison, Lathan, Harrisonville. That goes right down towards Garnett, Lacine, in the Butler area. These locations earlier this morning were in a slight risk, but by about 7:30, 7:45, we saw signs to indicate to issue an enhanced risk for severe weather in these locations. And now, instead of a marginal risk to portions maybe around Bethany and the Chillicothe area up towards Mercer and Grundy counties, now the rest of the viewing area under a slight risk for severe storm activity. I'm going to go ahead and actually zoom out of this and show you where we're at for the entirety of the viewing area. And you can see we're really on the edge of that enhanced risk kind of situation. It's going to be much more concentrated out towards central and really western Kansas overall. Wichita being a part of this, Emporia out there, and then moving over towards even Hayes is on the cusp or the fringe of that extreme western side. In this location, this is going to be the better threat that we can see some gusty winds, major downpours, frequent lightning, and hail development. That's going to be the most concerning for us as we move forward in time. That's what we've got going on here for our storm threats. Now, for tornado development, I'm not ruling that out. We've got ourselves around less than 2% chances, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but we start ringing the alarms when we get up to about a 5% kind of threat for tornado development. Now, it's good to know that we're under 2%, but that doesn't put us at a 0% chance for rotation, and it's something that I'm going to keep my meteorological eye on. And, of course, our meteorologist, Savannah Tennyson and Alina Lee, are going to be in here later today to both kind of tag team the severe weather threat as we move into the afternoon and early evening. What I'm most concerned with is going to be that hail and the wind gusts out there for us. We've been tracking with the National Weather Service that the metro could see 50 to 70 mile per hour gusts. That's the main concern or threat as we move forward with the storm activity out there, which, by the way, we will get into the forecast model run in just a quick second. But the wording from the National Weather Service was not that Wyandotte County might see some gusts at 50 to 70 miles per hour, or, maybe Olathe might see 50 to 70 mile per hour winds. No, it was specifically the metro in its entirety could see those winds between 50 and 70 miles per hour with these storm cells clustering in from the north and west. So this is why this is a bigger event. This is why we've got an enhanced risk of severe storm activity. Let's go ahead and show you kind of the motion of where we're at with the timing of these storm cells. You can see how it starts up with a front kind of to the north there. That's the cold front that's deepening in from the north, and it kind of meets up with an upper level low that tracks in from Colorado. Currently at this point at about 6 p.m. at night, that upper level low pressure system around central Kansas. But look at those colors. We've got Lawrence, Douglas County out there in those magentas. That's what we call that kind of pink coloration, that kind of darker kind of pink hue. Moving into the metro, maybe around Lee Summit, we've got that same coloration. North of Odessa, along I-70 on the eastern side, Missouri side, Richmond area. These are prone locations that we could see, maybe some very high wind, heavy rain, and that hail development. Now, this is not a set in stone situation. This just gives you a good idea of what we may be seeing around this time frame, right? Let's move a little bit forward in time here. Let's get you towards 7 p.m. Notice that we have a breather from the intense severe storm activity, but we could easily see along maybe the Harrisonville area up towards Odessa in this particular location, and even up in towards that south and western side of the loop, we could still see a cluster of severe storms populate in there with those oranges and reds. Out towards Marshall, that's a good area that we could be seeing some severe activity. But it doesn't stop here. Let's go ahead and move a little bit further in time. And even 9 p.m., we finally start to see signs of this deteriorating from the viewing area. Nonetheless, those yellow colorations and even portions of around Clinton and Warrensburg and that orange coloration could still be some pretty intense storm activity. Not necessarily getting up to a severe weather threat, but we could still see gusts within these yellow zones of around 30 to 45 miles per hour. So this is why we are, letting you know, alerting you to this situation when it comes down to the next 6 to 8 hours in our forecast here. It's just not necessarily going to be a night for date night overall. Now, when it comes down to what we're showing in our forecast model runs, this is where it gets kind of interesting for us, friends, because when it comes down to our model runs, this has everything to do with the moisture content to our atmosphere. Now, we've already got the daytime heating expected today. We're easily going to achieve the upper 80s, lower 90s. Some of us may actually reach into the mid 90s just as an air temperature today. So the heat is there, and with warm air comes lift or rising into the atmosphere. So we've got that already substantial lifting mechanism just by daytime heating. And even moving into the early evening, we've got what's called diurnal heating. So we collected all the heat of the day. It kind of keeps to the metro and all of our concrete. It stays in that concrete. And as we make it into the overnight or the evening time frame, we escape that heat. We release it. That's what we call diurnal heating. So we've got all of this lift that continues into the overnight. That is not a concern. What we need is a fuel source for this. And that means we need a lot of moisture content to our atmosphere. Well, when it comes down to the humidity in our forecast model runs, we've got a lot of that. I'm going to try to find our humidity index for you and bring you back to that forecast to show you what we're talking about. Let me actually push that up, and there's our humidity. Now notice the little spike, the quick spike there right in the beginning of this kind of chart that pushes you between Friday 10 a.m. and Saturday 10 a.m. That's your 5, 6, 7 o'clock, even 8 or 9 o'clock at night time frame. That is your spike there to very humid conditions. So that tells us we've got a lot of moisture in the atmosphere at that point. Now, that's been a key kind of conversation to the meteorologists here at this station, meteorologists across the Kansas City area, including the National Weather Service, about that moisture content. That is going to be the key component to create a severe weather threat. Not just that severe weather threat, but potentially a broad or widespread severe weather threat. Moisture content with lift creates major instability to our atmosphere. So we destabilize our atmosphere and then provide moisture to the mid and upper levels. That's the fuel source we need to actually create severe storm activity. Now, at this time, we have been registering in our models substantial moisture content to our atmosphere. Accompanied with the heat of the day, low mid 90s, we could easily be seeing a major destabilization to our mid and upper levels, which would create a severe weather potential, high severe weather potential. Now, there has been talks and conversations throughout the entirety of the morning of maybe we can grab some of that moisture and maybe it gets sucked out west prior to the storm system getting to us, maybe around central Kansas for today. We were hoping for more convection to occur, which would allow us to suck in some of that moisture content from our neck of the woods and maybe burn it up a little bit, dry out the atmosphere just a tad. That would allow us to see maybe a threat of an isolated severe weather threat instead of seeing a more broad spectrum threat. Well, so far, that has not happened. And we'll continue to monitor it as we go through the day, because literally moisture content can move from one part of the atmosphere to the other within seconds, which means that we have to continue to monitor this like a hawk. But as it stands right now, that is your humidity chart, and you see that quick spike that we're talking about right there. Let me actually go ahead and see if I can highlight that for you. I'm going to see if I can. That's a straight line. Let's give you a curved line here. This is the area that we're talking about. Right here is that quick spike. And that's the time frame that we have in our severe weather threat map of getting into the strongest storm activity. That's going to be basically from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at night. Finally, it starts to dip down. You can see that drastic drop here that we've got into Saturday, right? That nice dip here. That brings in a lot of sunshine. We stabilize the atmosphere for a quick moment. But by the time we make it into Sunday's forecast, we've got a new front in the way. We get another southerly flow, and we increase the humidity or the moisture content to the atmosphere. And that'll provide another threat for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. That one nowhere near as aggressive as what we're dealing with for today, but we do still have a threat for a marginal risk of severe storms, so more of an isolated event that does stretch along I-70, including the metro, but it should be a little bit more few and far between that we have to deal with that situation. Let me clean up this map here for you and start just from scratch, getting back on over towards that severe weather map. Here it is, again, the enhanced risk that we are dealing with here throughout the metro. That's going to include all of our counties surrounding the metro there. Clay County up towards Platte County, Leavenworth. We've got Wyandotte, Jackson, Johnson counties on both sides. And then obviously moving up into portions of Donovan County there. That's kind of sort of the cutoff that we've got. But we're deep enough into the situation that we could definitely see some strong storms out there. Let me broaden up the view one more time. Show you what we're looking at. Wichita is in this situation. Even Hayes on the cusp, the fringe there, the extreme western side. But if you got friends and family a little bit more towards that central western side of Kansas, not necessarily in our viewing area, that's going to be a much more aggressive location to see those gusty winds, hail development. And you actually have better odds of seeing maybe a spin up or an isolated spin up in that location closer to around Wichita rather than getting into the metro. As I said, friends, it's still not out of the picture for us to see that threat of severe storm activity to do a kind of a spin up to the atmosphere. It's at a low chance, but it's still not zero. There again is 6 p.m. at night. You can really see the front that comes through, right? That kind of line of storm activity that comes in from the north and tracks down more towards the south and trying to transition to the east at the same time. Lawrence all the way through to the metro itself, Richmond, Odessa, all within those dark reds and magentas. That's all of those stronger storm cells or the potential for stronger storm cells. And this is where we're most likely to see that severe weather threat. So warnings may be popping up in those locations for sure. Let me actually show you where we're at with the synoptics. So basically synoptics of weather is showing you the fronts, the low pressure systems. You know, if we could cut them in half and talk about and explain the insides of those systems, that is what we call atmospheric synoptics in meteorology. So let's bring in kind of a broad brush, easy to understand synoptic map for you. And that is going to be our surface map. We show you this all the time. So let's go ahead and bring that in and show you where that front lies. There's the cold front up towards Omaha. There's that upper level low kind of on the fringe of Nebraska and Colorado. You can see we've got a stationary system to the south there. That's going to help us as an enhancement to continue to keep moisture pluming around central areas of the plains and the Missouri River Valley as a whole. But with that being said, this area of low pressure here and this front, those are the two key components that are going to be interacting with us as we move forward in time here. That's going to be the main weather features that we have to deal with as we go into 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And everything starts to switch and transition from where it's at right now off around Nebraska and kind of sort of move in a direction to the south and east. And it kind of gives you a good idea, a rough estimate of the timing of maybe some of that storm activity that's to the north. It's almost coinciding with the timing that we've got with our future forecast models, isn't it? Check that out, Kansas City, 6:43 at night, right? So let's actually go back, and I want to show you 6:43 at night. Remember that time frame, that's Kansas City. So let's go back to our forecast models for that severe weather and move forward in time. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. This is actually closer to 6:30 to tell you the truth. And man, oh man, isn't that in the same timing of that storm activity that's up to the north that we just showed you in the track model? So everything seems to be lining up pretty good at this time. We got to remember, friends, this is why we call it forecasting. You know, we have a backing in meteorology, in mathematics and physics. When we go to school to be meteorologists, we automatically minor in mathematics and physics because there is so much into numbers and algorithms to produce forecasts on what weather may do. And we take all of this raw data of the atmospheres, we send up nodes that kind of measure the atmosphere, everything from wind direction to pressure to moisture to temperature. And we take all of that raw data and we produce it into these algorithms, these mathematical equations. And what we take with those mathematical equations, we add them to a computer model that creates a model forecast for us. And that is what we're dealing with this. This is the HER model run that we use. And by the way, it's actually a pretty confident model to use when we're involved with inclement weather such as severe storm activity within about a 12-hour time span. It does a really good job of actually forecasting this stuff. Now, we've seen some minor alterations to it, but not much at all. So I've actually got Facebook up here as we're doing this Facebook Live, and we've got a couple of people asking about the severe weather threat, one of them being from Jana. She's like, what's the timing of this? What's the timing of it? Well, here's part of the timing right here. Most impactful for the city metro is easily going to be between 5:30 and 6:30 tonight as it sits currently. You got to remember, we're at 10:23 in the morning, okay? We could definitely see alterations at noon. We could definitely see alterations at 2. We could actually see alterations at 5 o'clock in the early evening when we're just supposed to get into the storm activity. But at least as it sits right now, this gives you a pretty reasonable kind of idea of timing of this. This will continue moving into 7 o'clock, moving into 9 o'clock. And by 9 o'clock for the metro itself, it should be just leftover scattered showers, maybe a few heavier downpours here and there, but the storm threat should be moving on during this time. Now again, take this with a bit of a grain of salt. Remember, we do see changes to the atmosphere as we move forward in time, but at least at this time, the moisture content to the atmosphere is so thick. Let me show you the camera here. There's nothing wrong with the camera, by the way. This is not like a cloudy camera or a really bad pixelated camera. That's the water vapor being picked up that looks over to the city metro out there. That's not any kind of particle pollutant in regards to a kind of ground ozone like exhaust or CO2. That is water vapor. The moisture content is what you're seeing, that kind of steamy hue out there visually. So yeah, that's the main component. That's the key here. We've got heat. We've got temperatures that are going to be rising easily into the low 90s for today. I want to actually show you that and show you where we're at with our heat index. So I'm going to bring in that in our forecast model runs. I've got actually my graphics program, my algorithms here. Now, obviously, we're kind of sort of driving the boat right here, showing you the different camera types. But I'm going to take you kind of sort of an hour-by-hour situation when it comes down to our heat index. Let's push this up. Obviously, this started at 4 o'clock in the morning here, but let's see if we can put this into time frame and start moving and grooving with it. There we go, pushing forward. That's 8 a.m. Let's get past that because obviously we're past all of this. So here we go, getting into about 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. There's your feel-like temperatures already featured into those upper 80s and lower 90s. Oh, keeps on coming, friends. Just wait, because we could be seeing feel-like temperatures that push into the triple digits now. See that? Lawrence, Olathe, Ottawa. And then we get to KCI. That's north of the city. That's not downtown. Downtown should be warmer than what we're looking at off around KCI. But 96 degrees, that's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We're still not done. We continue to climb with these temperatures. You can see the pinks, see that coloration lifting up into Leavenworth County, moving up into Platte County. Then all of a sudden, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we've got 102 as the feel like. Now, this is a very interesting map out there because I want to actually go all the way out to the corner of your screen over by where it says Storm Track. Do you see that? See off to the corner of your screen that says Storm Track. Let me bring that back. You see that green coloration there? That's a massive drop in temperature. or feel like temperatures out there. And that's most likely going to be the actual air temperature in those areas in that green coloration. We could be talking about 70s right there, not triple digits or upper 90s. That, my friends, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, is the concentration of severe storm activity. So it's even being picked up on our temperature model runs, which is completely different from our actual severe storm or storm activity model runs. So we're all starting to line up in all of these different types of models. That's giving us more and more confidence in seeing this severe weather threat impact the area. All right, so let's get back one more time and talk about what kind of severe storm activity we're going to be dealing with. I'm going to go ahead and bring that back up. Going to find that map for you. Get into the severe weather impacts. Let's actually show you a different one that we like to use. It's a nice different kind of visual to the severe weather threat. If I could find that in my forecast, there it is in my 300 or 400 graphics that I like to use during the morning newscast. It's kind of wild how much I got to get done here in the early morning. But let's switch you over back to the graphics here. This is just to give you a better idea, right? It shows you the severity map right there, Kansas City, right in the smack dab middle of it all with that enhanced risk. But then we've got the concentration of what kind of severe weather threats we're looking at here. And all of our meteorologists here at KCTV5, including myself, all agree that really our most concern is going to be with high wind in these storm cells, whether that's an inflow, the wind sucking into the storms prior to them actually arriving, or the outflow boundaries, the push outwards of that wind as the storm continues to roll through the area. Those types of winds could be ranging anywhere from 50 to 70 miles per hour. To put that in perspective for you, we're on the cusp of hurricane force wind. It's about 74, 75 miles per hour for a Category 1 hurricane, all right? It's rather impactful because, you know, especially with this type of area that we deal with, we have a different type of soil sample here, and we have a different type of tree species as well, right? You know, the state of Florida sees hurricanes all the time, but most of their tree species are deep-rooted trees, meaning that their roots go down and out. Well, here around the Missouri River Valley, getting into the Central Plains, a lot of our trees, such as, you know, grand oaks or maples, those tend to move out, not necessarily deep. They're kind of shallow rooted in a sense, but they move outward to hold themselves down. But with a 50 to 70 mile per hour wind, you could have a 100-year tree come down in those kinds of winds. And we've seen this happen before last year with our severe storm activity in plenty of neighborhoods here around the metro, around the Mission area, and in fact, where we saw even active kind of spin-ups or rotations that weren't necessarily in Mission, but they were up north. The severe storm activity still came through and started taking down trees as in wholes. So that's something that we're definitely concerned with. If you have any outdoor furniture, you know, we're talking about the plastic furniture or those pool chairs. You've got, you know, not one of those considerably large, heavy grills. It's something on, you know, the medium size or small size grill. Anything that's not kind of sort of bolted down, that doesn't have considerable weight to it or weighs less than about 40 pounds, could easily be moved around or picked up and be now a projectile or debris that could be lifted up and cause significant damage to your home, to your property, or potentially to your friends and your family. So this is a big deal. This is why, you know, we're warning you now, but it doesn't mean that we're trying to do this kind of scare tactic situation. We just want to make sure that you know the level that we're at here for the severity of these storms. We want you to take it very serious, and we want you to prep and prepare for that kind of inclement weather. Make sure you're ready. Make sure your friends and family are ready, right? You want to make sure the kids are prepped and they're not afraid of the situation. They know what to do if things start to get a little hairy out there. You want to make sure that the pets are ready to go, right? So when we get to this inclement weather, you do realize that the best bet that you can do is obviously find the most interior location of your home. That's what we want to do, preferably away from windows. So what I say is the more walls that you have between you and the outside, the better. And if you've got a cellar, if you've got a basement, something a little bit more on the comfortable side for all the kids and the family to hang out in, that's even more safe. That's an even better location for you as we get into this early evening timing of the severe weather threat, which again, we can go ahead and talk about one more time here. Let's actually bring in the rainfall forecast map here, because the percentage of rain is really going to increase. It really does. It really pushes forward here towards the evening. You can see how we push right up to 50% chances of storm activity out there for us. And really, we should be pushing this more to 60 to 70% chances moving forward to around 4 to 7 p.m. But this is just kind of sort of an average that we like to kind of sort of push for you. You know, for the rest of the afternoon, we've got this humidity. You know, we get maybe an isolated rogue storm that might populate. So that's why we've got that 10 to 20% chance. But honestly, we do believe that the moisture content is going to stay where it's at for the time being. And it's really going to be affected by the front and the low pressure system that rolls through earlier tonight. So we really enhance that rain chance. So that's why we're going to call on average a 60% chance for storm activity all the way around. All right, that's not necessarily 60% chance of the viewing area getting a storm, or it's a 60% chance that the storm is going to affect your neighborhood. That's where we're more like at right now, is that we've got a 60 and really pushing now to 70% chances that maybe your location could see some severe weather activity. Let's see if we can get into a couple of comments here. Let's see, Marty says, it's going to go around us, says Marty. When he was to have thunderstorms, it never happens. So when he warns us about thunderstorms, you know what? That's okay, Marty. I don't mind that comment. I really don't. Honestly, I hope he's right. I really do. As a meteorologist, these are the kinds of days that I don't mind being wrong at all. I don't mind getting the comments like this, or even after the kind of inclement weather situation. I don't mind you telling me how wrong I was. I'm glad I am. But the fact of the matter is, the numbers are showing right now in the models that we've got ourselves a pretty significant chance to see some severe storm activity. So we're going to prep you for it, because we want to make sure that you are safe. That is my job. That is our job here at KCTV5. We don't mess around with that. You're family to us. So we're going to make sure that you're ready for it. Whether it happens to you or not, want to make sure that you are prepped for it. So Marty, I actually appreciate that comment. I really do. How about Pedro? Pedro says, how do you feel about the game tonight? Just a delay or a reschedule? Well, I got to tell you, Pedro, it's not looking good. You know, he's talking about the big game, the Rays and the Royals, I believe. So let's actually show you that forecast model. And let me bring that back up for you. This is what I'm calling for. 7:10 at night, right? We're right there in the midst of the severe storm activity. And because we're looking at a threat for severe weather and maybe seeing those warnings actually in place around the Royal Stadium and getting into the Arrowhead area, I believe that we may be seeing more of a reschedule scenario here to play it safe. I don't necessarily see this being an option of holding off as the storm activity rolls through, because again, you got to remember that the storms themselves are going to finally be out and maybe just shower activity by about 9 o'clock at night in our forecast model runs. That's what we're at right now. And that's usually towards the timing of the end of the game, if it were to start at 7:10. So this might be a situation, Pedro, that we're looking at a reschedule. I would not be surprised. But you definitely want to check in at the stadium, check in at the Royals, and obviously their website, see where they're at with that kind of a situation. But right now, at least with the National Weather Service and, of course, our details here and our data, it doesn't look so great. It really doesn't. Let's see. I don't see much more in our comments here in regards to Facebook. Oh, we've got one from Gabrielle. Thank you so much. Janae is actually helping me drive on the other side of the camera here. Thank you so much. Yeah, we've got Gabrielle here. What about KCK Wyandotte area? So let's go back into that. Let's talk about Wyandotte here. I'm going to bring back that severe weather map one more time. We're going to get a little bit closer, a little bit more involved with it, bring back that graphic for you, right? So there's Wyandotte County. And I'm going to actually grab this and pull us in. We're going to pull right on into this map. I don't think we're going to get into actual towns and stuff like that. That's not what this graphic was made for. But as you can see, Wyandotte County smack dab in the middle, of that kind of enhanced risk when it comes down to the metro and moving out towards the Kansas side there. Leavenworth, you're a part of that. You're even deeper, obviously going in to portions of Lawrence, Jefferson, Douglas counties out there as well. But yeah, Wyandotte not looking so great. So let's go back over to the severe weather forecast map. and our HER model run. And I'm going to stop it yet again at that. Oh, this is the NAM, actually. In fact, let's go ahead. This is a secondary model run that we like to use. So let me actually backtrack this to 6 o'clock. Slowly, it's going to go back. And there's 6 p.m. So this is a completely different model. This is a completely different mathematical algorithm that we use. And we use this because we want to see if we have consistency across our models. Now, this is a little different in placement and timing, right? You can see that looks like we could see our stronger storm activity more towards the north, getting up into St. Joe, off around maybe Leavenworth County, and then moving over towards Clay County, and then maybe off around the Clinton area. So this is a little bit different, but the severity, the intensity of these storms are still looking very aggressive, right? Let's move forward, shall we? Moving to 8 p.m. at night. This one says, hey, I think the storm activity is going to move out really fast, and by 8 p.m. we could be just seeing some scattered shower activity. So this one says, hey, we can move this a bit quicker, but the fact is, the storm activity, the severe weather threat, let's push this actually right in the middle here, and that's most likely 7:45 to 8 p.m. at night. You can see how quickly it amps up and still affects the metro area, including the Wyandotte area. So that's just a secondary model that we like to use. It's not quite that great in regards to forecasting severe storm activity 12 hours out for the Missouri River Valley, but we do like to use it in reference with the HER model run that we like to use. Where did I put the HER model? I went too far. I went too deep in my models here. Let me go ahead and push you up here. Give me a second here as I find the other model forecast here. I've got the regional forecast, which is going to be too ambiguous for you guys to really get the detail into it. There it is. There's our HER model run. All right, we're going to pop that up right now for you. All right, so here we are with the HER model run. Let's go ahead and push you right back into it again. Getting it, there's 5 p.m. And then there is 6 p.m. at night. All right, so definitely getting involved with a major storm threat out there. And you can tell that Wyandotte is a part of it, and it stretches right into the downtown area. So, Gabrielle, I hope that answers your question about Wyandotte and the timing here. Yet again, we're still looking 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, that it does include Wyandotte County, that it even moves all the way out towards the edge of Leavenworth, where we've got, I believe there's a county fair. To tell you the truth, there's a county fair that's happening, or at least they're getting ready for it, I believe, this weekend. And rough weather, at least in this forecast model, showing you this. Now, you know, we were talking about Facebook, and there was a person there that was on Facebook that was mentioning, you know, Greg, you're just crying wolf. You know what I mean? It's going to change, and we're going to be fine. Everything's going to be great. And I'd like to say, yeah, I really hope that is the true story. But we do have to take this with a grain of salt. You know, this person is actually somewhat correct in the sense of we've got to monitor the atmosphere. The atmosphere literally changes second by second. No joke. I mean, we're talking about temperature variations, wind directions, wind speeds, pressure variance. All of this changes in seconds. Now, we measure the atmosphere at certain times of the day, and we take that raw data and we put it into our forecast models, and then we have this prediction that ensues after that. Now, once we get new data, as we bring in more raw data from the atmosphere, we'll get a new forecast model run, and it may change. That's what we deal with. That's why we call it forecasting. If it was 100% guaranteed, friends, then it wouldn't be called forecasting. It would be called facting. And you wouldn't necessarily need me. I mean, that's all there is to it. But, you know, this is basically us taking in as much as we can data-wise, extrapolating that data, and predicting what the weather may do at a certain time of day, all right? It is not 100% accurate. It never will be, at least at this point in time. We don't have that kind of technology. But we do our best to make sure that you guys are warned and you're prepared for it. And that's what we're doing here today. I don't want John and Jill out there in their car as 70-mile-an-hour winds hit the highway and it's a downpour and there's lightning and there's potentially hail. I don't want your car in the driveway where it should be in the garage where you have space when potentially hail hits your neighborhood. And then all of a sudden you've got a smashed windshield and your car's not really drivable because of that situation. So I want to make sure that you're prepped for it so you can take those precautions, prepare yourself, and then if it does happen, you're as safe as possible, your property is safe as possible, your family's safe as possible, and you can go about your day. That's what we're here for, friends. That's why I chose what I chose in my career, to be a meteorologist. It's not just to be a science geek and to geek out about all of this weather and science related stuff. It's also to help you guys stay safe. That's what I'm in the business of. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, so we've got the Wyandotte County Fair is tonight in Wyandotte County, says Kyle. So yeah, we just mentioned that. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I've actually seen it on my way into Leavenworth. You know, they've got this huge field ready to go for parking, and they got this beautiful, cool looking fair that's out there ready to go. It might be a day that we all hold off on that fair. I'm just going to say maybe the first night, maybe a night that you hold off on that just because of this inclement weather. Obviously, though, we've still got some time here, and if it does change, we will let you know. And hopefully you can get out there and plan accordingly and enjoy maybe that state fair or I should say county fair, or maybe heading out to the Royals game, or maybe heading out towards the Starlight Theater and enjoying one of the bands that are going to be out there for us. So we will be here, but as it stands right now, it does not look pretty. It really doesn't. Let's see. Kyle says, rich data presented with solid explanation gives people a chance to plan and prepare around as much as they can. Thank you for all of this data, says Kyle. You're most welcome, sir. That's what we're here for. This is my job. I care about you guys. I really do. I know that sounds silly. I get it. Like you're on the other side of the screen going, you don't know me. No, doesn't matter. You know, you watch us, you tune in, you hang out with us every single morning or every single afternoon or every single night. We care about you. I care about you. If I meet you in person, I want to give you a handshake and a hug. That's what we're about, you know, and you're part of this community. I'm part of this community, and I love this community. I want to make sure that everybody stays safe in it. So I really appreciate that, Kyle. That's really awesome. Amy says, this is the fourth night and a big night for the livestock 4-H kids. Auction is set to start at 7 p.m. It's looking kind of rough out there unless the auction is in an indoor situation. I'm not sure. Sometimes they do those auctions indoors or at least under a major covered area. But even so, with these high winds, it may not be a safe situation. This may be something that you kind of tune back in as we make it on into the early afternoon, maybe like 1 o'clock, because that might give you enough time to prepare for either a postponement or maybe a cancellation for the next day. Saturday is so much better, friends. I mean, really, Saturday looks phenomenal for all of us. We're looking at a clear trend overall. I'm going to bring you out to another view of the city. I just want to show you this. This is from Briarcliff. It's a beautiful shot of the city here, but you're looking at this going, oh my God, it is hazy. That's got to be smoke, right? Are we in a poor air quality situation? No, that's not an air quality issue. That's a water vapor issue. That's moisture. That's heavy, copious amounts of moisture to the lower and mid levels of our atmosphere. And that's why you see kind of a haze or a dark kind of background of the city instead of actually seeing detail, maybe seeing some windows in some of those skyscrapers downtown. That is moisture content. And that is the driving force today of our severe weather threat, which is what we have potentially at about 6 p.m. Now, I can leave this here, and as we get more data that comes in, it updates. It'll update for us. So far, you know, as we've been talking here for about 35, 40 minutes, we have not seen a budge in the severe weather threat here around the metro, Lawrence area, Odessa, and Richmond around 6 o'clock at night. So it just gives you an idea that we're seeing a bit more consistency right now with our models, with new data that comes in several hours at a time here, a couple of hours at a time. Technically, it's about 3 hours at a time at this moment. Rodney says, don't let the online trolls bother you. They don't. They don't, Rodney. They don't. Sometimes I actually take some of that stuff and I use it to my advantage to make either my forecast better or to tailor something that sounds like it could be important to that person who might, want to troll me. Yeah, I let it roll off my back, brother, but I appreciate it. Let's see. Angela says, thank you so much, Greg, for all of you do. Not a problem. That's what I'm here. I love doing this. This is my passion. This is what I love to do on top of also acting. I do enjoy that too. But that's, neither here nor there at this point in time. All right, let's go ahead. One more round. We're just going to go through just a few more graphics here. We're going to give you one more detail, and then we're going to take off from streaming and from our social media. Obviously, we're going to give you more data as we move through. I'm going to be here for noon, 100%. And then actually, by the time we get done with the noon show, Alina Lee, our meteorologist, very, very skilled, my goodness, and she's been here for quite some time. She's going to be involved with us at about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. She'll be over to take it in. And then also we will have some help from our latest meteorologist coming out from southern Missouri, from Springfield. Savannah Tennyson will be in to assist with Alina Lee, two highly skilled meteorologists that will help you track these storms hour by hour, minute by minute, as we move forward into kind of sort of the D time, which is going to be about 4 or 5 o'clock into the afternoon, early evening, and then into the mid-evening time frame around 9 p.m. So they're definitely going to be having your back. But let's go ahead. One more round of talking about this. We're going to start off with the severe weather kind of prediction model run that we've got, right? The enhanced, the slight risk, the marginal risk stuff. So let's get into it. This is it right here, that orange hue. That is your enhanced risk of severe storm activity. Do you see where we're at here? It's basically the entire metro is dealing with this, right? Platte County. We've got Clay, not necessarily Ray County, but we got Clay County in there as well. Or is that Ray County? I always get those two mixed up there. Ray and Clay so close to one another. I don't know which one is which. My apologies, friends. But when it comes down to Johnson and Jackson counties, Wyandotte, Leavenworth, Platte, Buchanan, right up towards St. Joe. That's kind of the cutoff right there, St. Joe. And then you get into the slight risk after that. Donovan County, Atchison there in Atchison County on the Kansas side. Slight risk to Atchison County, well up to the north on the Missouri side on I-29. Maryville, Bethany, Chillicothe, all on that slight risk for severe storm activity. Let me broaden up the view here. Let's see if that'll move. No, it doesn't want to move for me. So that's what we're going to do. There we go. Let me go ahead and broaden up that view to show you that we're kind of on the fringe overall of that enhanced risk, but we are a part of the package here. And this, as we move towards central and western Kansas, maybe towards Emporia or maybe towards Wichita, these areas, even Manhattan, we got to watch out in Manhattan. Those areas are going to be more prone to the potential of rotation. All right, meaning tornado development. Now, ours is less than 2% chances. That's good news. But to put this in perspective, if we were to get to a 5% chance of tornado development, that's when we start the siren, the red alerts. You know what I mean? That's where we go, hey, heads up. This is going to be a serious situation on deck. But we're less than that 5%. We're less than 2% right now. So we call that on the lower scale, but it's still not zero. So we're going to watch that like a hawk, obviously, with these storm cells that move on in for us. All right, so let's go ahead. And let's move on to the severe weather threat, right? Timing of these storms and maybe the severity of these storms, right? So here we are, 10 o'clock in the morning. Let's move forward into the afternoon, early afternoon. Well, let's actually back that up because this is a new update right here. Let me show you that update right there. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You see, just a couple of isolated storms. This is just ahead of the main line. And that tells me as a meteorologist, that we've got so much energy and so much lift happening that we're producing strong storm cells even before the front even gets here. So that shows you that we've got that kind of juiced or charged atmosphere when we're starting to populate storms even ahead of the main line, all right? So that's definitely a sign of some severity out there. But let's keep on keeping on, right? So let's keep on moving here. Let's push this over and let's get you on over towards 5 and 6 o'clock. There's 5. And then here we go, pushing to 6 p.m. at night. And again, we are still holding Wyandotte County there, right through the downtown metro, right in the middle of the loop. You're right there with those magentas, those dark reds. Douglas County outside, just outside of Lawrence, Richmond, Odessa areas. These are the prone areas at this time that we can see the most significant storm activity, meaning this may be where we see the most significant wind. This may be where we see the most significant downpours, frequent lightning, maybe hail development out there. All right, now we still have to take this with a grain of salt because this is the data that's coming into us right now. We're going to have more updates. We're going to see a new update at 12 o'clock. We're going to see a new update at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And technically, we'll have another update at 5 o'clock into the early evening, all of which will have new data, which will then be pushed into our forecast model runs and provide a new forecast for us. But at least for right now, we need to plan you for this. I think it's a wise choice to do that, right? So let's get back at it. So there's 6 o'clock at night across the area, and it just doesn't look good for the game. It doesn't really look good for Starlight. Maybe off around the 4-H when they're doing, all of that stuff, when they're auctioning off the animals out there. And then we get into 7 o'clock. As you can see, it really starts to amp up now along I-35 to the south. You can see that Garnett, Ottawa, Olathe, right through portions of Harrisonville, and then into Odessa. All of that could be strong storm activity. That could be severe thunderstorm warning credential or criteria, I should say. As we move on into 7 p.m., 8 o'clock at night, you can see now the strongest storms are starting to populate more towards the east. Marshall, Warrensburg, still Paola. Let's see. I'm not gonna rule you out. It's still some severe storm activity around this time frame. We're starting to get away from the powerful storms to the metro, but you see those oranges. It's still indicative of intense storm activity. That could be the line of either calling it a severe thunderstorm warning or just calling it a severe thunderstorm watch, right? This is where that coloration of orange, that could indicate gusty winds between 30 and 45 miles per hour, which is still significant. So that's something to watch out for. So let's get back at it here. So that's 8 p.m. at night. And then moving forward in time, there's 9 p.m. at night. Now we're really starting to die things down. There's still a couple of strong storm cells out there. Pettis, Benton counties, Clinton, heads up in these locations. And then finally, as we move on into 10 o'clock at night, we really start to lessen that threat. All right, light showers, maybe some heavier cloud cover. Now we're talking about the calm here. Now, with that being said, we're behind the storm system. There will be some breezy conditions to push everything out. So we're still going to call for maybe gusts at 25 miles per hour out of the north-northeast, sustained winds of 10 to 15 or maybe even 15 to 20 miles per hour. So even though maybe the rainfall is out, we may still have to deal with a bit of a breeze out there. So that's something to just take into consideration as we move into the overnight. But it will lessen as we move into Saturday. And then finally, let's going to leave you with what we've got for what we're most concerned with as we move forward today. And that is going to be the wind out there. I've got it at 59 miles per hour or higher, but to tell you the truth, it's going to range between 50 and 70 is what we're most concerned with these storm cells. The hail development, I think we've got better confidence for marble size hail than anything, but there is a threat to get into 1 or 2 inch in diameter hail. All right, so that's going to push you towards like golf ball, maybe even a little bit larger than that, and that could do some serious damage. So that's something we have to watch out for. Still keeping that tornado threat on the lesser side, but still cannot rule that out for you. All right, friends, as I said, I'm going to take care of you guys. I've got your back on this. You can count on me. You can count on the entire KCTV5 Storm Track 5 weather team. Alina Lee, Savannah Tennyson will be in for this afternoon into the evening. I'm here all the way till at least 12:30 into the afternoon to have your back on any latest updates to the severe weather threat. All right, stay safe. Try to stay dry out there. I've given you the time. Now's the time to prep and plan. I'm going to leave you with a steamy look of Kansas City.